Okay, so you can type your options in the chat box. Open your chat box, please. Wherever required, I'll explain the options as well. Okay, so here we go, starting with structuralism. Claude Lévi-Strauss, the chief proponent of structuralism, gave a structural reading of which famous story? A very important question. Yes, Pritagya, Tanmay, Ranjit, Vimla, Kavita, all of you are right. Oedipus Rex is absolutely right. This Oedipus Rex is mentioned by Claude Lévi-Strauss in his book Tristis Tropics. That is another very important point. Tristis Tropics is the name of the book by Claude Lévi-Strauss. In this book, he has also argued about the savage mind and the civilized mind. Civilized mind he calls as the educated mind, and the savage mind as the uneducated and illiterate mind. And he says that the savage mind had the same structures as the civilized mind, and that human characteristics are the same everywhere, whether it's a civilized mind or savage mind. So all these concepts were included by Claude Lévi-Strauss in his book Tristis Tropics. He has written another very important book, Myth and Meaning, where he has given a very famous statement, myth is a language. So these two important points are very important for the exam point of view. Let's move on to the next question. A couple of Saucer's students compiled his lecture notes on language into a book form that would be called what? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Course in General Linguistics. This was published in the year 1916. Starting from 1907 to 1911, Ferdinand de Saussure has given almost 16 lectures in the university, and all those, after he died, his lectures were collected and published in the book form that was called as Course in General Linguistics. So it was published posthumously in the year 1916. And if we talk about the other option, Lang and Parel, this is also pronounced by Ferdinand de Saussure only. Death of the Author by Roland Barthes. You can type the year of publication of Death of the Author in the chat box if you are able to recall. The year of publication of Death of the Author. Anyone? Roland Barthes. Yes, Vidyut, you are absolutely right. Kindly remember the year of publication. It's 1967. Okay, yes, good. Okay, let's move on to the next question. I have not written A, B, C, D here, but you can guess it as A, B, C, D. Okay, so which Italian book Todoro analyzed from a structural perspective? So Tazavetan Todoro is a Bulgarian French semiotician. He's Bulgarian French semiotician, as well as he is a literary critic, a structural literary critic. So he has analyzed a book from the structural perspective, and you have to identify the name of the book. Yes, it is Decameron. Boccaccio's Decameron. This Decameron is studied by Todoro from a structuralist perspective. Okay, so Tanmay is absolutely right. Further, the ideas of Todoro was attacked by Holland. So Holland has written an article, Boccaccio and Fried, a figural narrative model for the Decameron. He uses literary theory techniques to overturn the idea of Tazavetan Todoro, who has analyzed his structuralist manifesto, Grammar di Decameron. That's the Latin title of Boccaccio's Decameron. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Signifier and signified are the components of. Okay, I get confusing answers. Sumana, Ranjit, and Kavita, you are absolutely right. They are the component of sign, not structuralism. Because we know that in structuralism there are so many proponents, so many authors, but there is only one author is talking about signifier and signified and through the sign system, and he says that the sign can have two components. One is the signifier and the other is signified. So when we see any sign, the first thing that comes in our mind is the signifier. And when we are able to understand it, that becomes the signified. So sign is the right answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Saucer's which movement seeks to undertake studies in various social sciences by concentrating on the deep structure that underlies social practices. Okay, so all of you are absolutely right, except Kavita. She says behavioral. Ferdinand de Saussure is a structuralist theorist, is a proponent of a structuralism. So this movement, a structuralism movement, was started by Ferdinand de Saussure. So it is structuralist, is absolutely right. Okay, next. In Saussure's, the signifier is the sound and the signifies is the thought. Yeah, theory of linguistics is absolutely right. Let's move on to the next question. In Ferdinand de Saussure, The analysis focuses not on the use of language, but rather on underlying system of language. Okay, Vimla, Ranjit, Pragya, Kavita, all of you right. Its analysis is done in course in general linguistics. So if it is talking about the analysis, so there must be some book. So that is course in general linguistics. Okay, let's move on to next question. So in which book Claude Lévi-Strauss analyzed some common components in myths? Yeah, just now we have discussed, all of you are absolutely right. It's myth and meaning. This myth and meaning is talking about myth is a language. Okay, next question. Which text was important in introducing structuralism to English speakers? Okay, I can find different answers. So the right answer is a structuralist poetics, a structuralism, linguistic, and the study of literature. It was written by Jonathan Kohler. And this is a very important work on structuralism that was published in the year 1976. Okay, what about the other books? An introduction to the structural analysis of the narrative. Any idea? You can type the name if you can recall who is the author. An introduction to the structural analysis. Okay, I think I'm not getting any response. So it is by Roland Barthes. Okay, next, mythologies. This is very common. Just in the previous class, we have discussed about the author. Yes, Roland Barthes. Again, Roland Barthes. And a structural anthropology. Structural anthropology. Any idea? It is by Claude Lévi-Strauss. Yes. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. And now we are going to deal with new criticism. So what method is closely associated with new criticism? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Close reading of the text. Next question. What were new critics reacting against? Yes, all of you are right again. They reacted against the historical and biographical reading of the text because, according to new critics, everything was there hidden inside the text only, and the close reading of the text will reveal the exact theme or the perspective. Which genre did the new critics most enjoy analyzing? You know that new critic was started by J.C. Ransom, and he wrote a book in the year 1941 that was entitled New Criticism. And their other new critics includes Alan Tate, Tennyson in Poetry, and Kenneth Brooks,
T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot, William Ampson, Ambiguities. So they were mainly focused on the analysis of the poetry. If you are reading like a new critic, what sort of things you are looking for? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. We are looking for ambiguity, tension, irony, paradox, technique, and form. Okay, so let's find out who are the propounders of these terms. Ambiguity by William Ampson, and the name of the work is Seven Types of Ambiguities. Tension in Poetry, just now I have said, Alan Tate.
Alan Tate.
Sir.
Yes,
Sir,
can you
please
name
repeat
who
once
has
again,
coined the
sir.
term? Ambiguity was coined by William Ampson in his work Seven Types of Ambiguities. Tension was coined by Alan Tate in his work Tension in Poetry. Irony and Paradox, coined by
Clint
Clint
Brooks.
Brooks. Clint Brooks.
Kenneth Brooks. And Technique and Form, Technique, Form, and Intent, coined by Paul D. Mann. He has coined the term form and intent. So these are the terms all of us must remember. Let's move on to the next question. What essay title sounds most like a new critic writing? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. And we are talking about ambiguity and irony and William Carlos Williams' poetry. So this exactly seems like a new critic writing, because we have seen that we are looking for ambiguity, irony, all these paradoxes in the new criticism. Which critic helped kickstart the ideas behind new criticism? Okay, so you know Roland Barthes and Michel Foucault are from post-structuralism. Raymond Williams and Terry Eagleton, cultural studies, or we can say Karl Marx or Marxist criticism. So it is T.S. Eliot. Just now, Tanmay has said that T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound was the pioneers of the new criticism when
Sir,
they started. Yes, Tanmay?
sir, but Ezra Pound is related to the Imagist movement, sir.
Yeah, but Ezra Pound has helped T.S. Eliot to write his works.
So that's only why. That's the only reason that Ezra Pound
Yes,
is being regarded as new criticism.
yes,
New critic.
yes, yes. So T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound is the right answer. We are very aware that Roland Barthes and Michel Foucault are not from the new criticism. Raymond Williams and Terry Eagleton, they are from the cultural studies. I.A. Richards is from new criticism. I.A. Richards, who is the pioneer of practical criticism. Okay, the next question is who coined the term heresy of paraphrase and argued against paraphrasing poems? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Kenneth Brooks is absolutely right. You can open your mic and you can tell me the name of the book in which this work, this term appears.
Sir, the whole wrote on.
The Whale Wrote On, absolutely right. The Whale Wrote On is having 11 chapters, and this heresy of paraphrase is the name of the chapter number 11. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Why did I.A. Richards do to study how people interpret literature? As I said, that I.A. Richards was the profounder of practical criticism. Yes, he took the names of authors of poems and asked students to analyze them. So he made two groups of students, group A and group B, and then he gave the poems of to group A students, telling that who is the author, and he gave few poems to the group of group B students without telling the name of the author, and then he realized that the interpretation of both the group of students are totally different. Once they are aware about the writer or the poet, their interpretation is totally different. This is how why this such criticism is known as practical criticism. Which new critic said that judging a poem is like judging a pudding or a machine? No, it's not third. The right option is William Wimsatt and Monroe Beardsley. While they were talking about the affective fallacy and intentional fallacy in their work, the verbal icon, published in 1954. There they have mentioned this quotation: judging a poem is like judging a pudding or a machine. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Very simple question. Yes, they also wrote poems. Vimla, Pradeepa, both of you are absolutely right. Next question from Formalism now. Who said that if the pattern is formed for the purely practical purpose of communication, then we are dealing with a system of practical language. Sometimes identifying the quotations becomes very difficult. Okay, so all of you are guessing. The right answer is Lev Jakobinsky. He has given this quotation. Okay, coming to next question. Who wrote the notion of form? And he completely writes that the notion of form here acquires new meaning. It is no longer an envelope, but a complete thing. Form and Intent by Paul D. Mann. Just now we have discussed. But the notion of form, D. Mann is not here. Okay, Boris Eichenbaum. Boris Eichenbaum is a formalist, and he has given this quotation, the notion of form. So wherever you find this term, notion of form, this umbrella term, you just tick Boris Eichenbaum. Sorry. Okay, next question from Formalism. Who proclaimed this quotation? The object of a science of literature is not literature, but literariness. That is, that which makes a given work a work of literature. So very important quotation. You need to remember this. The object of a science of literature is not literature. This much you need to remember. And the right answer is Roman Jacobson. Yes, Sumana and Momita, both of you right. The next quotation. Who declared that art exists that one may recover the sensation of life? It exists to make one feel things, to make the stone stony. Very difficult to identify such quotations. You can just remember all these important quotations. Art exists that one may recover the sensation of life. So what you need to remember is few umbrella terms, not much. Stony, such type of umbrella terms can be remembered, and it is said by Victor Slowosky. Yes, Vidyut, you are absolutely right. Okay, here is another quotation. Who announced that the work of art arises from a background of other works and through association with them. The form of a work of art is defined by its relation to other works of art, to forms existing prior to it. Okay, I'm giving different answer, but the answers of Tanmay and Kavita absolutely right. Victor Slowosky has given this quotation. Okay, next question. Who is the fellow who first tried to define the distinction between poetic and practical language? Poetic and practical language. The standard of these questions are really very high. So you may find the difficulty. The right answer is Lev Jakubinski. Lev Jakubinski. No, it's not Roman Jakobson. Lev Jakubinski has first defined the distinction between poetic and practical language. Who come up with the concept of literariness? Literariness, yes. I think you're absolutely right. It's by Roman Jakobson. Revati, also you're right. Roman Jakobson has coined the concept literariness. Okay, next question. Who wrote the theory of the formal method? The theory of the formal method. Okay, the right answer is Boris Eichenbaum. Who made us familiar with the concept of defamalarization? Victor Slowosky, yes, absolutely right. All of you are absolutely right. Who come up with the distinction between story and plot? Fabula and sujet. Yes, all of you are absolutely right. It's Victor Slowosky again who coined the term fabula and sujet. In which essay does Roman Jakobson talks about literariness? Just now we have learned that he is associated with literariness, but in which essay he is talking about this? So through these tough questions, I'm just trying to enhance your broader understanding, whatever we have read in the class. Apart from that, if we are going to learn something more, that will always be beneficial. So the right answer to this question is on realism in art. On realism in art. This is the essay by Roman Jakobson, in which is talking about literariness. Kindly remember, on realism in art. Okay, next question. Which novel does Victor Slowosky discusses to demonstrate the distinction between plot and story? Very important question. Which novel does Victor Slowosky discusses to demonstrate the distinction between plot and the story? Whether it's War and Peace, Tristram Shandy, The Metamorphosis, or Madame Bovary. Okay, so you can note down the right answer is Tristram Shandy. The right answer to this question is Tristram Shandy.
Sir,
So,
sir, he has also said about something 1984 or animal farm also, as I remember. Something I have read.
Can you repeat? Your sound is not clear. Can you repeat your point?
Sir, in the deconstruction, sorry, defamiliarize. Oh, sorry, it was wrong, sir. I thought it was defamiliarize, and I found the Animal Farm and 1984. Okay.
No, it's plot and sujet. Okay, so in this he is making a distinction using the Tristram Shandy by Lawrence Stone. And War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. The Metamorphosis by anyone?
Franz Kafka.
Kafka, yes. And Madame Bovary by?
Gustav Flaubert.
Yes, Gustav Flaubert. Next question. In which essay does Boris Eichenbaum summarize formalism as a theoretical movement? So there are two questions hidden in this question. One is who has summarized formalism as a theoretical movement? That may also be a question. So it is Boris Eichenbaum who has summarized formalism as a theoretical movement, and the title was The Theory of the Formal Method. The theory of the formal method. In this work, he has said that formalism is a theoretical movement. Next, Franz Kafka uses defamalarization in the opening passage of which work of fiction? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. It is the Metamorphosis. Which author, hating literary critic and cultural theorist, described text as a multidimensional space and a tissue of quotations? Text is a tissue of quotations. Very famous quotation. Text is a tissue of quotations. Kindly remember this phrase, very famous one. Text is a tissue of quotations. And it appeared in the work The Death of the Author. So now it's you automatically know who is the author. Yes, Pratik, absolutely right. The Death of the Author by Roland Barthes. Next question, according to Derrida, what does the imagined center do to the structurality of a structure? Confusing question. Derrida, what does the imagined center do to the structurality of the structure? Okay, I'll just explain the question. What does imagine the center? That means if we are trying to understand or interpret the meaning of a text, and if we are not able to understand, then we may imagine to understand. We may imagine to understand a text. That may be right, that imagination may be right, that imagination may be wrong. So that is the thing he is asking, that if we imagine, what is the possibility of understanding the meaning of the text? Whether your imagination is going to supplement in finding the meaning, or it makes it a mixtape, or it neutralizes the meaning, or reduce the chances of understanding the original meaning, or it expands or strengthens the meaning of the text. The right answer is it neutralizes or reduces the chances of finding the original meaning of the text. If we are going to do the imagination, because you know Derrida has said that everything is there inside the text. There is nothing outside the text, nothing outside the text. So we need not to imagine anything, nothing outside the text. Whatever is written in the text, just read it and understand. Don't make any imagination. Don't go outside the text. But if we are doing imagination, we are going outside the text. Okay, so we need not to go outside the text. So if we go out, it will neutralize or reduces the chances of getting the correct meaning of the text. I hope it is clear.
Sir, so should we take it as if they are still following the, should we actually keep the word well wrought on kind of thing in mind and then answer these type of questions?
Yes, because if I talk about post-structuralism, this quotation is the key quotation of the entire post-structuralism. So whenever you get such questions, try to keep these quotations over there just before the questions. You will be able to understand the question.
Okay, sir, got it. So the key lies in identifying from which theory it is and then the central idea of that theory to answer a question.
Exactly. Jacques Lacan, another post-structuralist as well as a psychoanalytic, tells us the unconscious is structure-like. Unconscious is structure-like. A Manson tree, inception, or a language.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sir, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, my headphone has got its charge. Just give me a second. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so we were talking about the question about Lacan, who says that unconscious is structured like a language. So a language is the right answer, but how does we understand this? As we know that to find the meaning of any word, very difficult. Like if I say a word house, very difficult to understand which house we are talking about. My house, your house, his house, upper house, lower house, white house, which house we are talking about. Very difficult to understand the meaning. This is what Derrida calls deconstruction. And Jacques Lacan says that unconscious is exactly like identify the meaning of a word. So if I want to know the unconscious part of the mind of one of you, so I'll have to ask several questions. What is there hidden in your mind? And I'll keep asking the questions, and whatever the answer I'm getting, very difficult to identify the whether it's right or wrong. So Lacan says that when we try to interpret the unconscious, a psychoanalyst is trying to interpret the unconscious part of the mind of an individual. Very difficult to understand the exact meaning. Very difficult to add all the points together and take out a conclusion. So the structure of unconscious is exactly like a language. The way we are not able to understand the meaning of a language properly, same is the condition with the unconsciousness. That's why he said that unconscious is a structure like a language. I hope it is clear. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Fill in the post-structuralist blank. Homi Bhabha argues that blank help us understand identity politics better than concepts like otherness and difference. Yes, hybridity is absolutely right. Hybridity is about the mixing of culture. All of you are absolutely right. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following was not written by Michel Foucault? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Of Dramatology is written by Jack Derrida, translated by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, and the preface is written by Rousseau. The rest all three books, Madness and Civilization, History of Sexuality, and Birth of the Clinic, are by Michel Foucault. Okay, next question. What does Jean Baudrillard think we live in simulated realities? Jean Baudrillard has coined the term simulacra and simulacrum. So what he thinks we live in simulated realities? Jean Baudrillard is a post-structuralist author. Okay, the right answer is given by Momita. We can never know the truth. This is what is the central idea of post-structuralism.
So that is the fourth option, sir. You have given 5 options over here. That's
Okay,
why.
okay, yeah. Okay, right. It's my mistake. Yeah, fourth is absolutely right. So we can never know the truth. So we adopt ideologies which reshape the world in our minds. So all of you are absolutely right. Okay, next question. Which post-structuralist philosopher stated, academics' lives are seldom interesting? Okay, so the guess of Sumana is absolutely right. It is Gilles Deleuze, who is another French philosopher from the post-structuralism theory. Gilles Deleuze talking about academic lives. Next question, which post-structuralist philosopher authored Capitalism and Schizophrenia? Capitalism and schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a psychological term. It's a kind of disease, psychological disorder. No guess is right. Again, the right answer is Gilles Deleuze. Capitalism and Schizophrenia by Gilles Deleuze. Which post-structuralist philosopher was interested in power-knowledge relationship? Very easy question. Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Michel Foucault. Next question. Which post-structuralist philosopher disliked discourse so much that he actually skipped class for a whole year as a child? Post-structuralist philosopher disliked school so much that he actually skipped class for a whole year as a child. Okay, so if you don't know the answer, the right answer, I did not get any from any one of you. It's Jack Derrida. He skipped the school for a whole year because he did not like the school at all. That's why he was a philosopher.
Sir, it is quite confusing, sir, because Michel Foucault is not has much faith in the power theory that school is doing its own rule and creating its own rule for the children, and all the children have to follow the rule. So basically, when we are just going through the option, it's focuses on the Michel Foucault.
Yeah, but Michel Foucault did not quit his studies. He continued his studies. It was Derrida who escaped his school for a year. Which post-structuralist philosopher started in philosophy by studying metaphysics? Quite new term, metaphysics.
What is it, sir?
First, let's know the answer. Then I'm going to explain what is metaphysics. The right answer to this question is Jean Baudrillard. So as we know that Jean Baudrillard simulacrum, which is about the things which are not existing. He talks about an absurd philosophy. So metaphysics means an absurd philosophy, which is not existing. We are just simulating the philosophy which we are just simulating. Okay, so you got a new term to learn today, metaphysics. Okay, let's move on to the next one. According to Michel Foucault, so you got 4 options. Which one is right? This question is on discourse, concept of discourse. Nowadays, such type of questions are very frequent in NET exam. And all of you are absolutely right. Discourse constitute authority and knowledge. Very important phrase. And post-structuralists use the term discourse to mean that the link between knowledge and power is mutually constituted. Okay, next question. Why has realist scholar Stephen Walt warned against adopting a post-structuralist approach? Quite a new question. Kindly read through and try to apply your rational thinking. Why he has warned that we should not adopt a post-structuralist approach? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. He argues that post-structuralism is in its current form unable to comprehend the world politics and security studies. So C is the right answer. Okay, next question. Why is the term post-structuralism preferred by most scholars to postmodernism, with which it was often used interchangeably? And you have got 4 options. Yes, Tanmay, Momita, Sumana, all of you are right. The term underlies that post-structuralism is not confined to a particular postmodern period and is a position which shares more with structuralism than with its opponents, as scholar Weaver argued. Next question, Giles Deleuze and
Could you
Felix.
please explain that 1 second? Sorry, I didn't understand.
Why is the term post-structuralism can be interchanged with postmodernism? Post-structuralism and postmodernism both are different movements, but why it can be changed? So according to the scholar Weaver has argued that we can interchange the term post-structuralism with postmodernism, because he says that post-structuralism is not confined to a particular period. Post-structuralism is not confined to a particular period or postmodern period. So post-structuralism is a position which shares more with structuralism than with its opponents, because we know that post-structuralism has emerged out of the idea of structuralism.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So it shares more the idea with structuralism than any other movements. Okay, so Giles Deleuze and Felix Guattari choose the rhizome as a new botany-born metaphor for thought. So again, quite new question. This term rhizome is a scientific term. It has come from botany. Rhizome is a botany-born metaphor. And the right answer is rhizomes are not hierarchical. Like thought. So according to Giles Deleuze, the thoughts are our thoughts are not in a hierarchical order. They may appear at any time without maintaining any priority. So that's why the thought is compared with a metaphor, that is rhizome. So I expect that rhizome is, I'm not aware about what is rhizome. Rhizome is all about in botany, but it looks like it is something like that is not fixed, that emerged, that can emerge at any point of time, exactly like a thought. So rhizomes are not hierarchical. Okay, next question. When considering the question, who is allowed to speak and with what kind of identity, authority, and knowledge, post-structuralists hold that. Okay, so the right answer is given by Momita. So as a consequence of how world politics has been theorized by conventional approaches such as realism, non-state groups such as NGOs cannot gain a voice in international relations. So it has no much relation with the question. You forget about the question, just read the options and try to find the right answer. So if we take the second option, the term realism is a movement that says that whatever is happening in reality should be given preference. So when a world politics has been theorized by the realism, then non-state groups such as NGOs cannot gain a voice in international relations. If they have to raise their voices, they cannot go through the movement of realism.
So in that case, even the third option will be right, no? Because over there the NGOs cannot gain. Here it's saying that the states have a right to voice.
Only states have the right to voice in the international political realm. Only states. Only states.
Okay.
If we remove the word only, then that could be the right answer.
Okay, sir.
But it is not the only states.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so next question. This cultural pessimist claimed that modern consumer culture murdered reality, and he did not like Donald Duck much either. So again, a bit typical question, somewhat related to cultural criticism as well. And we call it as a cultural pessimist. And he says that modern consumers' culture murdered the reality. This is the umbrella term here, modern consumer culture murdered reality. And the right answer is Jean Baudrillard. He has said that the modern consumer culture murdered reality. So you can make this quotation and kindly remember. Okay, another a bit typical question. Which of the following is correct as regards to post-structuralist methodology? Yes, all of you are absolutely right. Third is the right option. Post-structuralists have divergent views on both what such as methodology would look like and indeed whether it is at all possible. All of you are absolutely right. Which radical feminist argued that women as such don't exist before discourse create them? Radical feminist argued that women as such don't exist before discourse creates them. By this, some typical question, I'm just trying to broaden your area of approach. So don't get discouraged if you don't know the answer to such questions. There is no end of the questions in any of the literature paper. So the right answer to this is Judith Butler. Tanma is absolutely right. Okay, next question. This celebrity thinker said that author's name, even his own, are discursive function. Discourse formation, discursive function, discourse. Yes, again, all of you are right. It is Michel Foucault. Okay, next question. This intellectual is from Yale, helped to establish Derrida's reputation in America. Who helped Derrida to establish his reputation in America? And the right option is Paul D. Mann. who has coined the term form and intent. Okay, next question. This French psychoanalyst taught students that signifiers both are and are not wherever they go. So if I talk about psychoanalyst, the famous psychoanalyst from post-structuralism is obviously Jacques Lacan. Sigmund Freud is not a post-structuralist. So it is Jacques Lacan is the right answer. He taught his students that signifiers both are or both are not.
Sir, how do I understand that it has been asking about post-structuralism or
You just need to remember here, because we are learning about post-structuralism. Here I have written that this topic is from post-structuralism. Otherwise, in the exam, it is very difficult to identify. But here, at least, you should identify that this question is from post-structuralism.
So can we go with the term are and are not? Because this is used only by Jacques Lacan, no, over here.
Yeah, and one more thing, we are getting this key term signifier and signified. So either it can be from the structuralism or post-structuralism.
Okay, okay, sir.
Isn't it? Why Sigmund Freud will talk about signifier and signified. Okay, next is Jacques Derrida cannibalized into the American Academy with this paper in 1966. After which paper he became world famous. Publication of which paper became most famous? Yes, all of you are right. It is a structure, sign, and play in the discourse of human science. Okay, next is in this 1982 text by a prominent American deconstructionist is a great example of how Jacques Derrida's theory can be used to interpret classic literature from Marcel Proust to Rilke. (1982) text by a prominent American deconstructionist. Yes, Sumana is absolutely right. It's Paul D. Mann's Allegories of Reading. Because it says that how Jacques Derrida's theory can be used to interpret. Interpret means read and understand the meaning. So allegories of reading, you can guess even if you don't know about this. But kindly make a note. I'll be sending the video of this. So kindly note down all these important points in your notebook. It will help you to broaden your intellect. Homi Bhabha's essay, The Commitment to Theory. Although Homi Bhabha is a post-colonial critic, but we are trying to connect with post-structuralism as well. The first one says that he is a critic of post-structuralist theory. No. It's an account of his own upbringing. It's a defense of post-structuralist theory's political value. It's a marriage vow. Obviously not. So third is the right option. It's a defense of post-structuralist theory's political value. He has written The Commitments to Theory, in which he has defended the use of post-structuralist theory for understanding a political work or any colonial work. Because the idea of Homi Bhabha was that through the use of post-structuralism, one cannot interpret the meaning of a colonized person. The next question, Jacques Derrida's of Grammatology explains. Yes, his theory of writing. That's true. Michel Foucault's History of Sexuality argues that. Yes, all of you right. It's already bolded. He argued that discourse defines individual identities. Okay, so this was all about today's class on all these 4 types of literary criticism. And definitely we have learned too many new things. But don't think that you are lagging behind in literary theory. I have taken few questions intentionally, which are very deep, so that we can broaden whatever we are learning. Every day we should try to learn new things. Then only we will broaden our intellect.